There's good, there's great, and there's GOATs. Welcome to Guys on Air Talking. I'm Cos Graham, this is Justin Gomes. Today we break down the AFC North.
Alright, so the Bengals last year finished third in the AFC North, record of 6-9-1. I believe they had a tie against the Redskins. They did not make the playoffs. They had a top half offense in most yards per game categories, but they finished 24th overall in scoring, averaging only 20.3 points a game. They did have a quality defense. They held teams to an average of of under 20 points per game, but they only won back-to-back games once.
Oh.
So what did you think of their offseason?
I think they drafted the way the Ravens should have drafted. Adding a dynamic running back in Joe Mixon, who had a lot of stigma coming in with how his offseason, or how his late college career was going with some of the things that were coming up. And Ross is a great compliment to Eifert and to AJ Green, so I think their draft was great. Free agency-wise, the departures of Zeitler and Whitworth, I think were a little hefty on a guy who is under a lot of pressure in Andy Dalton.
Well, and historically, it's well known Andy Dalton doesn't play well under pressure, both from the defense and big pressure games, right? He can't win Monday night, he can't win primetime games. I think I went through the schedule. I don't think they have that many primetimes this year, so they might have a little bit of a better year this year.
But you know what? He did pass for just over 4G last year. So, that's a good number. You don't see a lot of 5,000 quarterbacks.
Yeah, but see, the thing with Andy Dalton is, how much of that was Hugh Jackson? I mean, we'll talk about Marvin Lewis a little bit later on, but so Hugh was there last year, and Andy Dalton had a career year. He threw 27 TDs, only 8 picks. I think 8 picks. And then this year, he only threw 18 TDs to 8 picks. So, I mean, there was definitely a decline. And Tyler Eifert was gone for a lot of the year, but not.
But he's never had a year where he's been there the whole time either. So you can't say that because Eifert was there a little bit more.
Well, so exactly, that's just further proving my point, right?
I don't think that's at all what it is. But I just think Andy he plays better than he looks because he's been coached well with a great system with, in the past, a lot of talent. But I think early in the season, we're going to see starters emerge out of Joe Mixon who are going to change the dynamic of their team a little bit. He's going to bell cow that team. Like, this team's going to be, we are a Joe Mixon team that pounds the ball, opposed to we're hanging on the shoulders of Andy Dalton. I think early we're going to see signs of that.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy Hill didn't have a great year last year. Burkhead left. Bernard had a big injury last year. I mean, Jeremy Hill averaged under 4 yards a carry. Man.
I think their backfield's rate is not at all. The draft pick of Mixon makes their backfield seem a lot better. Even if they go by committee and they don't give him 30 touches a game, Mixon alone late in the season, I still think that they're going to complement each other really well. And the departure of Rex Burkhead, man, who cares? He's the Gary Barnage of the frickin' Bengals. Like, he had a couple of good games, a good season. He left. Congratulations, man. You got a payday. That's how I feel about him.
Well, he averaged 4.6 yards a carry.
Okay.
On only 74 carries.
Okay, so that's a little, that's great. That's a good stat. Nice little tidbit of a statistic. It's not great,
Well, the thing is, I mean, who he was in the Bengals doesn't matter because now he plays for the Patriots.
He plays for the Patriots,
he's going to be the Super Bowl MVP. He's going to have 37 receptions.
No, it's almost steal the MVP award for him. But if you're averaging 4 yards on 74 carries, yeah, the Patriots are probably picking you up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And the thing, their backfield looks like the Steelers' wide receiver.
I don't know what they're doing over there. We'll get there.
Well, someone knows what they're doing. It just certainly isn't me. No, I agree. I really like that. I like the draft the Bengals had, but I like it better for a different team. Probably, like you said,
the Ravens.
Yeah, this is the draft the Ravens wanted. And the thing that kills me is Joe Mixon was on the board when the Ravens drafted second, thankfully. But then the very next pick, he went to the division. This guy, I agree with you. This guy's going to be an absolute monster.
Yeah.
He was a first-round talent, off-the-field issues. That I think he ended up settling a civil suit out of court for assault. Aside, I agree. I think we're going to be seeing Joe Mixon starter week maybe 5 or 6. That's what I'm thinking. Or 5 or 7, I guess. The bye week 6, so maybe coming out of the bye, they decide to make him the starter depending on how many touches he's seen and what he's doing with them.
And also, I could see his preseason really launching him to becoming that starter.
Well, I think he's going to have a strong.
Yeah, because he's not going to get first team reps being that the first couple series guy. He's going to be the third quarter up to the third quarter back.
But how important are the losses of Whitworth and Zeitler when you start talking about the backfield? This is a backfield that did not perform well last year.
I think they're a big deal when it comes to Andy. If it's the Joe Mixon era of running back over there, and he's taking over that team, I don't think it's as big a deal. I think he's talented enough to surpass having a mediocre line. But if they're still hanging on Andy, I think that's a big deal for them.
I think Andy's going to have a tough time this year.
That's why I think they're going to really start hanging off of the heels of Joe Mixon coming late in the season. Like, they're going to be running him hard. And it's just going to be flyer throws to frickin' John Ross, who is also...
Well, let's not forget about A.J. Green.
Yeah, like they've solidified everywhere around their quarterback. I think coming in the next couple of years, they might be looking at solidifying a real quarterback.
You know, well, it's interesting to see. I mean, A.J. McCarron garnered some trade attention.
Mhm.
You know, pre-draft, his name was mentioned in some stuff. And, like, do they really know what they have there?
As a quarterback, and the quarterback?
In their backup? Yeah, because I think he was a second or third rounder, maybe.
I don't think they know what they have, but they gotta be somewhat aware that guy's not the guy.
Well, the thing is, McCarron was the guy who started in that Steelers-Bengals game in the playoffs. It was at the wild card game 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, and that was that wild game where Pac-Man Jones was fighting everybody by the end of it.
Yeah.
And, like, that was one of the greatest games I've ever seen. There was the big comeback, the drama. It was a wild game. He didn't perform great, but he performed well. And for a rookie to get starts in playoffs like that, I always feel bad. It's like McGloin. It was McGloin who started for Oakland? Who started for Oakland this year against the Ravens?
Oh,
or the
no,
Texans?
who was it? It was a weird name. He had a weird name.
What was his name?
I think it was Cody something.
Anyway, whoever that is, I always feel bad for a guy who's first starting the NFL playoffs. That's rough. That's a rough
Well,
guy.
you know, Brock Osweiler lost the Texans to division titles, so...
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, but
So,
the 24th ranked is not that great. It's not good. It's bad. They don't put points on the board.
no, they do struggle with that. They had a great defense, though, especially scoring. They let up under 20 points a game on average.
But I don't think that's going to help them in divisional matchups. Maybe against the Browns and the Ravens, but not to beat the Steelers.
Well, even the Ravens, because, like, I mean, if you look at it, the Ravens have a better defense. The Ravens have the best defense in this division.
Yeah, which is a long-standing... This is a heavy defensive division. Though.
Well, and it's always been, right?
This is a place where defense is what gets you through the division. I also don't like how they play on the road.
Oh, they are terrible.
Yeah,
on the road. 2-6.
They don't play well on the road, especially, you're facing teams like the Steelers who do play well on the road.
Oh, the Steelers travel well.
Yeah,
Definitely.
5-3, on the road. So you gotta step your game up if you're gonna be playing on the road. What do you give them for their off-season grade?
For me, they aren't a better team now than they were at the end of 2016. The additions of Mixon and Ross, they help, but I just feel like this team's missing something. I think it's an Andy Dalton issue for me.
Yeah.
I think this team would be better served to move on from Andy. Let's see what AJ has. And I mean, I know that's a little wild, but I got them going my off-season grade for them was a C. They just, for me, they didn't do well enough. They watched a lot of their O-line depart, and having great skill players helps, but only if your quarterback has time to get them the ball.
I'm going C with you as well. Zeitler, Whitworth, those departures obviously bring that grade down. The drafts brings that grade a little bit up, but I just don't see Andy Dalton really making the next step. Like you said, he's not a franchise quarterback in my opinion.
Well, he might be a franchise quarterback, but I mean, he's going to be 30 this year, and at 30, you just are what you are.
He's got an Alex Smith type role. He's not a championship winner.
Exactly. At 30, you are what you are.
He's a great field general, and that's not what they need right now. They need the next X factor. I have them going 8-8 with that draft, shimmying in an extra win, pulling them a win. I think Joe Mixon and John Ross combined to favorably give them a 500 record going into the end of the season.
I got them going 6-10. Like I said last year, they only won back-to-back games once, but they had like 3-4 separate losing streaks of 2 or more. I don't see the schedule being particularly helpful to them in that sense. They open up with tough games against Baltimore, against Houston, then they go to Green Bay, and then they got a stretch of at Tennessee, at Denver, in Pittsburgh, end the season at Baltimore. It's not an easy schedule, and like I said, they just didn't get better than they were last year.
Their key matchups I have here are Buffalo right before the bye, Tennessee and Jacksonville, because they're 2 up-and-coming teams, and I think these are the teams that are going to people stereotypically you'd be like, oh, those teams are going to lose to the Bengals. The Bengals are better than those teams. But I think this year you're going to see teams like Jacksonville and Tennessee really beat them and beat Andy Dalton specifically. And I think they're going to take victories or take L's. The Bengals will take L's against Tennessee and Jacksonville as two teams that are on the rise.
Yeah, my key matchup for them is Week 17 against Baltimore. I feel like by that time they're going to be pretty much eliminated.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a big momentum builder going into next year. Like, hey, maybe this season didn't go the way we wanted it to, but let's beat a division rival, end the season, everyone get into the gym, everyone hit the playbook, and let's come out and see what 2018 has.
Play for some pride.
All right, so we're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens next. They finished up 2016 8-8. Good for second in the AFC North. They missed out on a wild card, so they missed the playoffs for the third year out of 4 since their 2012 Super Bowl win. They had a top 10 defense, but an incredibly weak running game. They went 2-6 against 500 or worse teams, or better teams, sorry, and 6-2 against 500 or worse teams. So, what'd you think of the offseason?
So they play good ball against bad teams and bad ball against good teams.
That's it.
That's what you're getting at. Their offseason was junk. That's an understatement.
Tell me how you really feel.
Do they even have a number one wide receiver? Do they even have a every down back?
Brashad Perryman.
Brashad Perryman.
I think who's
And that
projecting as the number one right now.
And you have the Browns in your division, and that is the weakest receiving core.
I mean, Mike
think.
Wallace caught almost 1,000 yards last year.
Nah, nothing to me. Nothing. It's easy to catch 1,000 yards being a flyer when you have Steve Smith streaking across the middle of the damn
Okay,
field.
so before we even talk about the Ravens offseason, let's just say goodbye to Steve Smith. Steve Smith Sr.
Yeah, thanks for a great career.
Amazing career.
Highlighted with so much emotion. It was intense.
He would just straight up fight dudes.
And he's not, he gave the little man syndrome a little bit of glory.
So I don't know, his first touch was, 2001, I think.
Mhm.
It was a kickoff, 97-yard
To the house?
To the house.
That makes perfect sense.
And you know what else is beautiful? Was he was supposed to retire last year, tears the Achilles. Says, I'm not going out like that.
Yeah.
Comes back. Warrior Steve Smith. Sorry, moving on.
Okay.
Which
is a huge loss for them.
Oh, it's a huge loss for the NFL. It's a huge loss for NFL fans.
Yeah. Someone who definitely one of the last great receivers to have that old school mentality. Like, we're here to play football. I don't care about being smacked around. This is what I do.
Yeah,
So,
again, just with straight up fight dudes.
The loss of Doomerville. If you're not going to go out there in free agency and add a running back who's going to carry your team, then why are you losing other key parts on your team? And you're not even going to bother to freaking draft one? Pardon my French.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan of the draft for them. That's nothing against Marlon Humphrey. Quality, big physical corner coming out of Alabama.
Yeah.
That's nothing against Tyus Bowser, the linebacker out of Houston. But it's, the wide receiver cupboard's bare. You got Mike Wallace, who's turning 31 this year. You got Michael Campanaro and Brashad Perryman, who have more injury minutes than
They're nobodies.
the Los Angeles Chargers or whatever.
Yeah. They're nobodies, man.
And just how don't you...
The only positives I see in their offseason is the secondary will keep foot with the high-octane offense of the Steelers, which is obviously a must for them.
Oh, well, they signed Tony Jefferson from the Cardinals. They brought in the big physical Brandon Carr to go along with Humphreys. They re-signed Ladarius Webb. That secondary, which finished, 9th in the league last year in passing yards allowed, and that defense, which finished 9th in the league in points allowed, just got better.
Yeah, it definitely got stronger, but these two, the aspect of a great secondary is a great complement to have on the defense. Like, we have a good defense, our secondary is a very strong point of that. That's not going to carry you to enough victories.
Well, I think that's exactly the idea they have in Baltimore, and I think Ozzie Newsome is sitting there, and there's an old adage: all you need to win in this league is a defense and a quarterback. They're really about to try and prove that.
That's all they have, and in my personal opinion, borderline a quarterback. I don't think Joe Flacco is a great quarterback by any means. I think he's just well coached in a system that fits him.
I think Joe Flacco is somewhere between an Eli Manning and an Alex Smith.
I think he is the league's new Matt Schaub. That's what I think he is. He looks great.
Did Schaub win a Super Bowl?
No, but whatever.
Well, see, that's why I like to put him between Eli and Alex Smith, because Eli to me was never one of the most talented guys.
No.
He's good. Is he going to be in Canton? Maybe.
Oh, definitely. You slay Tom Brady twice, you're going to the Hall of Fame.
And then there's Alex Smith, who's just a great game manager, and I think he comes in somewhere in between there with his one Super Bowl and sort of up and down career. To be fair, though, I mean, especially the last couple of years, like you say, it's not like he has anyone to throw the ball to, and Kamara can walk too.
Yeah,
So
which
there's
was like
another guy
he was not even really tested yet, and I thought good things when I first heard about him, saw some tape on him, but there wasn't really anything there for him, and I don't necessarily think I would have walked from a team like the Ravens, who aren't that great but do have a better position than a lot of the teams in this league.
Okay, so here's a thought for you, though. I'm going to give you a number.
Yeah.
91.4.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number of rush yards the Ravens had last year. That's good for 28th in the league.
Yes.
Now, they lost Ricky Wagner. Who else just departed from the line there? We had Ricky Wagner. Oh, Vladimir Dukas, the guard. And Kyle Juszczyk, who's the blocking fullback. And they did nothing to address that until rounds 4 and 5. And those are the only two players they added to the offensive side of the ball. Along with, Danny Woodhead, who's going to be, I think, 32 and coming off an ACL injury.
Danny Woodhead, people could argue that they did something running back and added Danny Woodhead.
Because I think Danny Woodhead's played like 20 games in the last 3 years. Like, I love Danny Woodhead, don't get me wrong.
He's a great inspirational
But he's not
story.
the answer here. You don't have Kenneth Dixon for the first 4 weeks because of suspension.
Yeah.
Terrence West, with all due respect, I think the Browns knew what they were doing when they let him walk and kept Crowell.
Yeah.
And you have an anemic run game, and you've done nothing to address
28th on the ground is not. You're not going to improve it by taking away these pieces and not adding a running back. And the worst part is they let Dumerville leave.
Yeah, they let him walk.
So if you're going to save all that cap space, who are you saving it for? Add a running back, because there were some good running backs this year.
Well, there was at least someone who could have taken advantage of what could be the beginning of the decline of Joe Flacco.
And I think, especially in AP's case, if he were to go to the Ravens, I think that puts everybody in a better position. Him on the Saints, no one's getting a win out of that, in my personal opinion.
I'd just be interested to see how many yards AP would be gashing the Browns for twice a year.
Exactly. And the only other team that really stands a chance at defending that, a good run game in this division, is the Steelers.
Yeah, the Steelers have a decent front seven.
Yeah.
They definitely do. And I mean, TJ Watt's supposed to be the bee's knees against the run anyway.
So we'll see what happens there.
So my overall grade for this offseason, a little less passionately than you, I also disliked it. I gave him a D.
I gave him a D as well, and I didn't know if we were letting Fs fly in this little grading we were doing here, because I would have gave them an F, a complete fail. But you add nothing to where you need to add, except for the secondary. You're not going to win off of that.
But see, for me, the thing is, they're going to do what they did last year. This is a perfect segue into our predictions for next year. I got them going 7 and 9.
So do I.
I got them doing the exact same thing as last year. They're going to handle business against sub-500 teams. They're going to beat up on the Browns twice. They're going to play Cincy twice. They got Jacksonville. They got Chicago. They're going to beat up on those teams, but they're not going to win the important games. They're not going to beat Pittsburgh twice. They're not going to be able to beat Houston. They're not going to be able to beat Tennessee at home, I don't think.
I got Tennessee as a key matchup for them. Also, I have Miami. These are two teams that are... Tennessee on the come up here, getting a little better. Miami staying a little stagnant, where they're like sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But when you say those sub 500 teams, those are the teams they're gonna beat up on. I think this is the year where they don't beat up on them, where those are gonna be tough games for them to win.
I just can't see the Bears, the Browns, or the Jags being...
I could see that Bears game being one of the better games of the season, just on pure competitive wise.
I honestly can't wait till we do the NFC North just to talk about the Chicago Bears offseason.
Yes.
You know what?
It'll be very, very... We might have to do 2 segments for that one.
Let's just do a quick plug. Check us out next week when we do the AFC North. NFC North.
NFC North.
He does the plugs.
Yeah. I'm the plug.
My key matchup for them is actually Week 10. So Week 10, they're coming off the bye. They're going to be going to Lambeau. Most of those teams I rattled off, the Browns, Bears, the Jags, first half teams. So I got them going into the bye somewhere around 6-4, 5-5.
Okay.
So coming out of the bye, Week 10, heading into Lambeau. Sorry, Week 11, they're heading into Lambeau. If you can get that win, number one, you're probably going to give yourself control of your own destiny in the wild card. And number two, that's a big statement. You walk into Lambeau and take down Rutgers.
If they get that W, I'd be very impressed. And if there's a team where a great team that they can beat, I think their team is a little set up properly here. Like, they got a great secondary, and you need that to beat Aaron Rodgers. You know, their run game really isn't there, and so they don't really need to stop that. And the defense over there in Green Bay is a little dwindling. It's not really what it used to be.
No.
So I could see them not necessarily tearing the top off, but maybe these subpar running backs having a good game against that defense. But mainly, the secondary is going to be able to deal with them the best.
I think if the Ravens make the playoffs this year, you look back to Week 11 and they beat Green Bay. If they miss out on the wild card or the division, I think you look back to Week 11 and they lost to Green Bay.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assumption. 7 or 9? 7 or 9. All right, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pretty good divisional record, only dropped 1 loss, but a big loss in the playoffs against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. They also had a good road record, but they finished 11-5. They're the most playoff relevant team in this division, so we might as well get into it.
All right, so the Steelers had a up and down 2016. They had a pretty embarrassing loss in Philadelphia in Week 3. They lost 34-3. I'm sure you watched it.
I recalled, yeah.
And then they also had a troublesome 4-game losing streak right in the middle of the week, but then they rattled off 7 consecutive regular season wins, plus 2 more in the playoffs before losing to Tom Brady in the AFC Championship. It was just more of the usual in 2016 from the 3 Bs. Big Ben had a big year. Passing game was ranked in the top 10. Antonio Brown caught nearly 1,300 yards, 7 TDs. Le'Veon rushed for nearly 1,300 yards and 7 TDs. Sorry, Antonio caught 12 TDs, not 7. And then Le'Veon also had another 600 yards or so receiving. So another big year for them offensively.
Stellar year considering that Bell was suspended at the beginning of the year as well. They finished so high in rushing totals.
Yeah, no, well, fantasy beast, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they do with him next year. That's for sure. I think James Conner coming out of the 3rd round. I mean, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I think you're going to see Le'Veon catching a lot more balls next year.
Yeah, I think he'll be lining up in the slot, especially for the offense in the 2-minute offense down the stretch of the games where they need to win. They got to put the ball in the air. I think he's there.
Well, it's just nuts considering how many wide receivers they have, but we'll get into that. So free agency for me, pretty quiet.
They're a dormant team. They're like homegrown talent. That's just who they are.
Oh, like always, right?
And if it works, why try and fix it, right? You're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to call it a strong free agency purely because, they made some key additions. They brought in Cody Sensabaugh, which I think he'll go well with Artie Burns. They re-upped with Ross Cockrell. So the secondary is pretty much set there. They re-signed Landry Jones, who's just been in the system, a quality backup for Big Ben.
Did they get the extension done for Bell this season as well?
No, they franchised Bell, actually.
That's what they did, yeah. Okay.
Which is actually going to be an interesting come next season.
Yes. Well, they don't care about keeping talent in a lot of ways.
I don't see him leaving.
I don't think he'll be going anywhere personally, but they've been known to let go of a guy no matter how good they are. If they feel they can still prevail without that player and it's not the right deal for them financially, they'll let them go.
Yeah, a lot like the Patriots.
Yeah, a lot like the Patriots.
Draft, good draft. They lost Lawrence Timmons. He went to Miami. Ryan Shazier is primed to take over as the quarterback, though. I mean, of the defense.
Yeah, and he's a great talent. For what you see last year, he's a big, strong linebacker. So.
He's a Steelers.
He's a Steelers player.
Exactly.
He's a stereotypical Steelers player. Good for them.
But they drafted T.J. so the third Watt brother joined the NFL.
Which I think he's primed to become a star, in my opinion. I think he'll just be... J.J. Watt says himself, his brother is better than he was coming into this league than when J.J. was coming in. So, I don't know if that means a lot to anybody.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I just don't even really remember what J.J. Watt was like coming into the league other than dominant.
Yeah, he came in pretty hot, and...
Hasn't stopped.
He was, early in the career, he was playing on both sides of the ball, but that's different. Yeah, I like their draft. I especially like the addition of Smith-Schuster.
Juju
to
the crowded cupboard.
Yeah.
No, he's a big body. Something a little bigger than Antonio Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a reliable possession catcher for sure. Whether they needed him remains to be seen. I mean, it sparked a Twitter beef between who was losing a job between Bryant and Coates. So it's probably Coates.
I don't know if either of them are going to necessarily lose a job. But Bryant's not the most trustworthy receiver. He gets,
year-long suspension.
He is the 4th B, you could say, that just hasn't really been there for them.
Well, he missed all of last season?
Yeah, I believe so.
All of last season. I want to talk about James Conner for a second, though, while we're talking about the draft.
The running back?
The running back, yeah. So he's coming out of Pitt. He grew up in Pennsylvania, and he had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so he missed part of his collegiate career, came back, drafted in the 3rd round by the hometown Steelers. And this isn't just like a feel-good story pick. He's a big, powerful runner, a good complement to the patient Le'Veon Bell, who likes to skitter behind the line and look for his hole and cut
they
open.
didn't retain D'Angelo, right?
You know what? I'm not sure if D'Angelo is still there. I know that they brought in Niles Davis.
Yes.
Niall Davis, sorry.
Yeah.
So I assume probably not.
No, if he's not there, I could see this Connor kid taking a spot. Like, D'Angelo comes in, not often, but if you're going to line up Le'Veon outside of the backfield, then you're going to see this. I think Connor's the first step to step into that role. That's the best way to get him reps.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just have them both line up in the motion Le'Veon out.
Yeah.
And then it's either going to be, 100%. So, off-season wise, I gave him a B. I know they didn't do a whole lot of moving and shaking, but sometimes the best moves that you make are the ones that you don't, right? Like, they lost to Tom Brady 1 game before the Super Bowl. Brady was virtually unbeatable this year. They were in Foxborough. They didn't have Le'Veon. You know what I mean? This isn't a situation where, like, you're miles behind the team that knocked you out.
Yeah, no.
Like, they're primed.
They're right there. Any given day, that could have been their game as well. It was the Patriots' year. It was their day that day. I wouldn't have been surprised seeing the Steelers go to the Super Bowl either. They were having a great season, and everyone looked pretty sharp near the end.
Well, yeah, and they were coming off a 9-gamer. Like I said, they came about as close to a Super Bowl berth
I
as you
believe near
could.
the end of that game they had lost Bell. Did they lose?
No, they lost him within 10 minutes.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game. So
It was
it's
at
a
the
different
beginning.
story if he's healthy, right?
Exactly. And, well, and the thing is, they lost to New England earlier in the year too, but Ben was hurt, so was Landry Jones. Anyway, so yeah, I'm giving him a B.
I give him a B minus.
Yeah, what gives you the extra down tick?
That minus really comes from, I know they are known for staying dormant in the free agency market, but this year could have provided them with a couple of things that helped them. And I don't know if G.O.A.T was also the best pick for them in the draft. I wouldn't mind seeing them trade out of that pick.
Yeah, because the teams really want to move back up into that first round now with the new
exactly
where you get 5 years on the first round player's rookie deal.
And I think they could have really got a good value for that pick. But I give them the B minus because this team needs to stay healthy. And I know it doesn't really affect the offseason very much at all. But when you look at their playoff run, that was the key for them. And I don't think this Connor guy and Davis, I think, aren't really what they need for Bell to stay healthy. I think they should have added another veteran running back, personally, instead of Davis. And there were some good ones out there that were borderline coming to the end of their rope.
Yeah, but are any of those guys willing to take such a number 2 role? Because I assume you're talking about your Peterson, Lynch,
I'm thinking
Jamal.
I'm thinking more Jamal would have definitely taken that role.
Well, I just feel like you want someone bigger than Jamal, though.
I feel like he plays the same game as Bell, so having him there to take reps when Bell's, because he gets ran ragged on him every angle they can get him. I could see him, but that's obviously a hypothetical discussion. But I just gave him the B minus because I don't think their draft was as strong as they like. Why Smith-Schuster? They, like you say, they have a wide plethora of wide receivers.
Oh, for sure.
And the talent, it's like Brown, and then everybody else is right there. There is no guy that's like, oh, I'm the number 2. Any day of the week, any of those guys below Brown can be the number 2 in that team.
So what do you got for the 2017?
12-4.
12-4. I got them going 13-3, and I mean, to kind of steal from what you were saying, I think the big key is not only for them to to stay healthy, but they need all their guys healthy together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 'cause they lost Ben for a couple of games, then you lose Le'Veon for a couple of games. It'd be nice to see them all together.
A full 16.
Yeah, exactly. A full 16 for sure. My key matchup is going to be their Week 15 matchup against New England. I think they're going to be a runaway for lock. AFC North, first place. No questions asked. Kings of the North.
I also have that as well. I think they're going to be fighting for a bye, the first round bye.
I'm not even so sure you're worried about the bye. I mean, just you got to have a bad taste in your mouth after 2 losses to New England last year.
Yeah.
The team that knocked you out. I think it's just a big game to kind of get the ball rolling, moving into the playoffs. Trying to mimic that magic from last year. I mean, anytime you go in the playoffs on a 7-game winning streak, I think you're doing something right.
You're looking pretty good. All right, let's start talking Cleveland Browns. We obviously know their record of 1-15, a 14-game losing streak to begin the season, but their offseason had some real bright spots. And another bright spot on their team this year was their rush attack. Isaiah Crowell was a little good.
Almost topped 1,000 yards this year. The Browns had a pretty good offseason. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy,
Yeah, it does, especially with their history.
right? But I really think they're starting to put it together. So the Browns focused on the offensive line. They re-signed Joe Bitonio, or extended him actually, sorry. They brought in Kevin Zeitler from Cincinnati and J.C. Treader to play center from the Packers. The Treader addition's big because it lets Cam Irving, who was getting torched at center all year, kick back to a guard position and hopefully win something coming out of camp. They got rid of their quarterback dead weight, Josh McCown, who's an absolute warrior. Sad to see him go. He's great for the franchise, like a great guy in the locker room. I mean,
Yeah, a good leader for sure.
they got rid of RG3, so that experiment failed, and they added Kenny Britt, which is kind of controversial amongst the fans because they let go Terrell Pryor, who's essentially the same player. They had
I think
very
Terrell Pryor had a little more of a higher floor than Kenny Britt does.
Yeah, Kenny Britt definitely wasn't making much noise until last year when
No.
he had the career year with Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
They got to stop with that. What do we call the Raiders?
The Las Vegas Raiders, yeah.
But they don't play in Las Vegas. Where do
No,
they
they're-
even have a home?
They're the Las Vegas Raiders of Oakland.
Oh my goodness, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Anyway, so yeah, sorry, they lost Pryor. You know what? The move just doesn't make sense for me because if you're willing to absorb a $16 million hit in the Brock Osweiler deal, which for those of you who don't know, was one of the most salary dump trades in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, one of the few as well. Like this doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
no, that's a
It's-
basketball. You see that in the NHL all the time. So they traded Osweiler and the second round pick for I think the Browns' fourth round pick. And who knows what's going to be done with Osweiler.
Another experiment you could say definitely this year at the quarterback.
We'll get into the quarterbacks later
Okay.
for sure. I want to just talk about this draft. So again, I'm going to sound crazy. The Browns had an awesome draft. They had, if not the best.
I think they had the best draft, hands down.
So they walked out of day one with 3 first-round picks plus an additional pick next year. And this is Myles Garrett coming out of Texas A&M, uber athlete, pass rush instantly better.
Across the board, the best player in the draft. So good for them.
They snagged the Swiss Army named Jabril Peppers. I'm a big fan of this. When it first happened, I wasn't sure what the plan was, but Greg Williams and Hugh Jackson both seemed really excited about Peppers. And then they slid back into the first round trading with Green Bay Packers to pick up David Njoku.
The tight end.
Yeah, he's a rough around the edges on blocking, but by all accounts, he's just an absolute playmaker. He's like 6'4", 240.
I think a good tight end is a great weapon to have for a young quarterback, which, no matter who they're playing, their guy's going to be a little rough as well.
And that was just day one. So
Yeah.
day two, they go out and they get Deshaun Kaiser.
Which a lot of people think, here we go again, them drafting a quarterback. But I don't dislike it. I'm like, you know what? Why not add a guy who has a lot of upside?
And the thing is, I'm not sensing that urgency to play.
No.
And the reason, a lot of people just view the Browns as, they're just shoving these young guys in. But a lot of the times, it's due to injury. Let's be honest, Josh McCown hasn't played a lot of games across the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Right? And Johnny Manziel forced in because of injury. I don't see that happening with Deshaun Kaiser. They went out, they did a great job of solidifying the line.
I like what you said about the pressure. Like every year they draft a quarterback and bring him in there. They're like, you have to be the savior of our franchise. This guy's coming into a team that's clearly stating we are looking to win 5 years down the road.
Exactly.
Don't feel like you have to be the hero right now. Let's teach each other. And Hugh Jackson's a quarterback guru. I think he can really move him along. I don't think he has a lot of good mentors there, especially with McCowan departing. But
see, I would have liked to see them keep McCowan, but it is a crowded with Kevin Hogan and Brock Osweiler there. So second round they picked up Deshaun Kaiser. Third round
is Kessler still there? Cody Kessler?
Yeah, he's actually coming out of the Browns camp right now. He's the number
leader.
one going into OTAs, but we'll
Things
see
change,
what happens, right?
Go ahead.
And they did a great job of finding value deep in a draft. So they picked up Caleb Brantley, and I think if you check our GO.A.T Facebook page, he's actually projected in your first round.
Yes, he is.
And then he had some off-field issues, so they snagged him in the sixth round.
And those off-field issues have been put to rest.
Acquitted.
Yeah, so he keep great value because a lot of teams pass on him because of it.
Exactly. And then they picked up Matt Daza, the seventh round back out of NC State. Now, I'm not saying he's going to rip the walls off, but he does seem to have a lot of potential as just a quick, shifty guy, which is, kind of Duke Johnson Jr.'s role right now. But it'd be interesting to see what goes on there, too.
No, their backfield isn't that bad. I don't think their backfield's that bad at all.
No, Crowell's coming. Like I said, he rushed for almost 100 or 1,000 yards last year. I think they ended up having to give him the second round tender, which he signed and is now at camp. But I think it's an exciting time to be a Browns fan.
I like their free agency moves of Zeitler and McCants. Adding people to the O-line never hurts anybody. Even if they have a quarterback, they're not sure who it's going to be. It's nice to have something solidified there that can help you develop any one of your 3 quarterbacks except for Brock Osweiler.
Well, exactly, taking like the Cowboys approach, right? Is Dak Prescott as successful if he doesn't have that great line Martin, Frederick, all those guys standing in front of him?
Absolutely not.
We'll get into that in the NFC East edition.
Yeah, for sure.
So what did you grade there overall? Offseason?
I gave him an A-. You know, the only reason that minus is sitting there is because of the loss to Terrell Pryor. I really like how he plays. He beat up on Josh Norman. You know, obviously he's on Josh Norman's team now, but that's the only negative they really had to me. They added good players across the offensive line. Their draft was the strongest I think we've seen out of any team in a long time.
Good draft.
And they didn't fall victim to their stereotype of picking a quarterback unnecessarily.
Overpaying, jumping up, like, we gotta go get a guy.
They had the first overall pick and they picked the guy that's gonna best help their team. That's a good sign for them, that they're learning and they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I gave him an A. Initially, like when all that Pryor news broke, I mean the writing was on the wall as soon as they signed Kenny Britt. You had a tough time thinking the deal with Pryor was gonna get done.
Mm-hmm.
But like Pryor just seems so much more like just a competitor, a fiery guy.
Definitely a fan favorite.
He's got a fan favorite. He's got a chip on the shoulder coming over from quarterback. Like we all remember the Oakland years, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But like as the offseason progressed, it's like two of the same. Realistically, they're both 28.
Yeah.
You know, the only difference is Kenny Britt's just been a receiver longer.
Maybe it's just me with the entertainment factor. I feel more entertained by Terrell Pryor.
Oh, I love Terrell Pryor.
I mean? I don't think he's going to do great things with Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, but I was really entertained with his season with the Browns. Like he was a really a bright star on that team, who almost like a DeAndre Hopkins, where they were cycling quarterbacks out every week.
And they started 5 quarterbacks in 5 different 5 weeks.
And he's still performing. Like that's something. Like, of course, Kenny still does great when it's Ryan Tannehill every single week. Try throwing in frickin' Matt Moore every 3 weeks at him. He'll probably start floundering.
So, what's your projection for him going into 2017?
3-13.
Yeah, I got the exact same thing. Strong off season, but I'd be looking towards the end of the decade for the Browns to start making some real noise.
Yeah, I think they're going to come out at the beginning of the season. They're going to say, hey, let's try and get a win at first three games, kind of show everyone we're not as who we were last year.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's gonna really be focusing on the development of their players, which I think is a smart idea.
Yeah, I got their key matchup being Week 4 versus Cincy. So Cincy's coming to First Energy Stadium. I just think that'd be a big win for them. Number one, because it happens in Week 4. They probably aren't picking up a win against Pittsburgh, Baltimore, or Dallas in the first 3 weeks.
No.
But it does give the rookies a good chance to acclimate. And they're the weakest team in the AFC North. But a win there, I think, does send a message to the rest of that division. Hey,
we're coming.
We're coming.
We're coming up, yeah. I think their key matchup is against the Jets the following week. I think the Jets are right now being considered the worst roster in the NFL.
Well, it's not a good roster.
No, and I think if the Browns come in there and lay it on them, I think they can say like, hey, listen, we're not the Browns from before. We are trying to become better. We're not the Jets. Look at us whooping the Jets' ass.
Who's the Week 1 starter in Cleveland?
Ooh, you're saying Kessler's leading out of camp? I don't think Osweiler has a chance in hell. I think that's tough, man. I personally want it to be Kaiser. I do. I want him to come out of the gates. I'm number one and hit the field running and just go with it. But I do. If I had to put my money on it, it's Kessler.
Yeah, I'm going Week 1 Kessler. I think you're going to see a Brock Osweiler and a Deshaun Kaiser start. Here's my reasons why. Number one, you need to see what Kaiser is. You need to see him in action because we got a deep draft for the QBs next year.
Yes.
And you need to see Osweiler. Not so much so like you know what you have, but maybe to show other teams what you have.
Yeah.
Because they haven't traded him yet, but that was the intention.
And also, I think you're going to see guys maybe starting and getting some playing time, and it won't be necessarily, oh, we want to win the game, so we're playing this guy. I think they're like, listen, we need to get our rookie quarterback a couple reps here.
Oh, yeah,
in the real
sure.
NFL. So you're going to see him come into the game in like the third and the fourth quarter early, opposed to like that rookie quarterback that comes in for the last 2 series or something. They're going to be down heavy probably in a couple of games, and they're going to start plotting these guys in. Let's see what you can do. Let's see, can you score a touchdown today? It's. I think they're not necessarily to see who's going to be the best winner for them right now. These guys are going to try and get the feel for the game.
This is a team that has started 2 or more quarterbacks every year since 2011. I think we're going to be seeing a couple different starters.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching us this week on Guys on Air Talking as we recap the AFC North. Make sure you guys join us next week. Same place, same time. We're going to be doing the NFC North. You can find us on Facebook, which has all of our original articles, Twitter, and YouTube. See you guys next week.
Okay.